This podcast is sponsored by Talkspace.
Last year, I went through many different life changes. I needed to take a pause and examine how I was feeling in the inside to better show up for the ones who need me to be my best version of myself.
When you're navigating life's changes, Talkspace can help. Talkspace is the #1 rated online therapy, bringing you professional support from licensed therapists and psychiatry providers that you can access anytime, anywhere.
Living a busy life, navigating a long-distance relationship, becoming a first-step father, Talkspace made all of those journeys possible. I could speak with my therapist in the office. I could speak with my therapist in the comfort of my home. I was never alone.
Talkspace works with most major insurers, and most insured members have a $0 copay. No insurance, no problem. Now get $80 off your first month with promo code SPACE80 when you go to Talkspace.com. Match with a licensed therapist today at Talkspace.com. Save $80 with code SPACE80 at Talkspace.com.
Well, hello, everybody, and welcome back one more time to the private Pilates Goddess podcast, where we are right now deep diving through the reformer exercises. And I am really excited today to start going into the kind of more advanced intermediate reformer. I think we're going to see some shapes here that are going to remind us of why there is an entire system and why we should use the entire system and not just be teaching mat or reformer or chair or tower. Okay. So, in intermediate, once again, we start with footwork, and we've gone through the footwork series already. What I recommend here with footwork is really using that footwork series to help your clients kind of feel where they are in their bodies. That's really what that series is for. You're kind of, again, you're working the legs in those kind of squat-like positions, but you're on your back, so you can really feel, where are my collarbones, where are my shoulder blades, where's my spine, are my hips, even side to side. I recommend having your clients look up at their feet on the bar and see where they are, especially if they are not in the center. And just really kind of, it's the ease in to the movement. And then they go right into the 100, right? If you're on a classical reformer, you're putting the foot bar down and they're coming up. Maybe at this kind of intermediate stage, you can look at starting your clients with their legs low and then kind of lifting their legs up as they bring their upper bodies up. There's things that you can do here similarly to what you would do on the mat, having your clients, work a little deeper and find their positioning, but remind them that they still need to have their backs down. They still need to be holding their shit together when they come up. And now, instead of doing short spine or any kind of leg in strap position, okay, feet are not going into the straps right now. We're doing overhead. Now, let's talk about overhead, because overhead for me is the same as jackknife on the mat. Overhead for me is very similar to long spine stretch in the way that the legs are kind of pressing up and away. Long spine stretch is very similar to the leg springs, to the supine leg springs, to the elevated leg springs, to the airplane. Breathing with the bar comes in here. Open leg rocker comes in here. There's a lot going on. There's a lot happening in overhead, as well as the arm support that we have in things like bridging, that you see in things like the frog or table on the Wunda chair. So for your clients who are having issues with, say, holding the arms down or dealing with the upper body in any kind of real way in overhead, you need to take those clients off and work on supine arm springs, work on their chest expansion, work on their bridging, work on keeping the collarbones open. Okay. Even the bottom lift or pelvic lift here on the reformer is going to be, a good place to practice that. And so, like, here's the thing, as people are progressing through the system, you need to talk to them about why they are practicing certain skills, right? We are practicing bringing those heavier arm springs down, holding the collarbones open, holding the armpits down, and lifting, say, up the spine or lengthening through the spine, because ultimately we're going to do some exercises where we are rolling our spines up and our arms and shoulders are what are supporting us on that mat, right? So I really feel like we are doing our clients a great service if we continue to talk to them about the basic exercises and how they're going to feed into the more complex exercises. So when I start overhead, and I actually have been teaching overhead quite a bit in the studio, and I've been teaching it to my online, especially my Pilates teacher clients. So here's how I go. At the very beginning of overhead, I just have people start with their arms just up to the ceiling and their legs up to the ceiling. And then I have them squeeze their heels together and squeeze their seat in the back and kind of get a good back line of the body. Now, step one, arms press down to the mat, collarbones open. Step two, legs start to angle back toward the back corner of the ceiling. And you start to curl up the spine, ultimately pressing the legs up. Kind of thinking about becoming a straight line almost, okay, from your shoulders to your feet at the top. Then you're going to angle those legs back a little bit, and you're going to roll down the spine. Once your tail is down, you're going to let the arms come up. And that's how I start it, okay? The second thing that I add is lowering the legs down lower, because this is an exercise ultimately that starts like the 100 with the legs all the way down. So legs are down, feet are basically, heels are kind of on the bar in a way, or maybe elevated a little bit up. First thing, step one, arms press down. Step two, legs come up to about 90 degrees, pressing back a little bit overhead, and then you squeeze the seat, legs go up toward the ceiling. You let the legs come back down. You roll down the spine. Okay, legs lower down, arms come up. Then as you progress, you start to put these things together. So now, at the same time, legs lift as the arms press. Roll up the spine, pike the legs. Come back down a little with the legs. As you roll down the spine, as soon as your tail gets down, legs go down, arms go up at the same time. Then we start to add arms pressing down as you're curling the tailbone up. Okay. And then arms kind of lifting up as you're rolling down through the spine, still maintaining open collarbones and shoulder stability. So see, it gets harder and harder and harder as we go. Tendon stretch, the upside down one is a good precursor in a way for overhead. Okay. The upside down push-up on the chair can also help with things like overhead. Again, you're looking for these positions where you're working on the shoulder stability and rolling through the spine. And these things are often difficult to do together. Then we go to coordination. We know coordination, you can add leg things to coordination. You can add, crisscrossing the inner thighs. You can add heel beats. I've also done it before where you go, out and then just take one leg out to the side, bring it back to the midline, come back in, then do that with the other leg. So that you're stabilizing one as you're moving the other, which can be, just a little challenging and makes people think. And really thinking in the workout is what we're going for, not just throwing themselves through. And then we introduce rowing. Now, I love rowing. I love to do rowing. I love to teach rowing. Many people do not. I think that when we're all in our teacher training, rowing is probably the hard effort for you to learn. So let's start with rowing facing front. And that's because when you introduce rowing, you're going to start with rowing facing front. Now, when we're doing rowing in the series, we start with rowing facing back, okay? But rowing facing front is a little bit easier to deal with in terms of the choreography. So we teach that first. So we start with what we call, from the chest, right? People are sitting up as tall as they can. Their sacrum, their pelvis is back against the shoulder blocks. They're lifting up their spines. Now, if somebody can't sit up super tall there, you can put them on a moon box. You can put them on a few sticky pads. You can put them on a folded towel or blanket. But the idea is that the spine is lifting up, the legs are pressing down, and then we're going to do things with the arms. Okay, so the first one, the spine just stays where it is, and we only move the arms. Okay, so think about that. We make it kind of easy. Let's not, deal with anything else, just arms, right? So I always tell people, pretend literally like you're holding under your suspenders at the top of your shoulders. So your hands are right in front of the shoulders. We take an inside grip now onto the handles, okay, or the straps. So what I like here is that now instead of the strap riding to the outside of the arm, the strap needs to be riding to the inside of the body, okay? And then you press the arms forward, either straight out from the shoulders or slightly above. Touch your hands down to the mat, lifting up your breastbone as high as you can. And then the arms go forward. They go all the way up overhead with a big long stretch. And then open the arms and actively press down into the arms as you keep lifting the spine. And then we repeat. The breathing of that usually is inhale, press and lower the arms. Exhale, lift the arms all the way up, 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 and circle out and down. I like to do that on one breath when I can. If you need to do it more breaths, do it more breaths. Realistically, I just tell people to breathe and breathe when they need to. And that seems to work pretty well. Now, the second rowing called from the hips, what I tell people is that it's a similar movement, but now we're simply adding spine movement, okay? Now, they've done similar spine movement already. They've already, been doing spine stretch, right? They've been doing, say, if you're doing a full system situation, they're doing spine stretch, they're doing the push throughs, they're doing, the rolling and the rocking and all of those things. Basically, if they can do overhead, they should be able to do this next rowing. So the hands are down by the hips. Okay. Step one, Head drops, you're exhaling, rolling down the spine as you push the arms forward, sliding them along the mat next to your legs. You go as far as you can with that. When you can't go anymore, you lift up the spine with your hands right in front of the shoulders. When you lift your spine, you lock into the shoulder blades, and then the arms go up and you finish the circle out. So again,
You can never have too many tools. Shop DeWalt deals at Lowe's. Get a free Select DeWalt 20-volt max power tool when you buy a Select 20-volt max 5-amp-hour battery kit. Plus, get a free additional DeWalt 20-volt max 8-amp-hour battery when you buy a DeWalt 10-inch 20-volt max dual-bevel compounded miter saw. Our best lineup is here at Lowe's. Valid through 6/24 while supplies last. Selection varies by location.
and literally all we're adding is that spine movement, similar to the first one. Okay. Exhale. And as always, your, flexion intolerant clients are not going to be doing this. Like your osteoporosis clients are probably not doing overhead. Let's just say that once you get into the more intermediate to advanced work, there's a little less modifying needed because the modifications will often just take you back to a more beginner or intermediate, early intermediate exercise. So just do that. Of course, if you're in a full classical studio, you can also do this work on the baby armchair. But if you're in a studio with a Cadillac or a tower or a spring wall, you can also do this work seated with arm springs. Okay, so I've seen different versions of the from the hips. I've seen the pushing out and coming all the way up with just the arms all the way up overhead and then opening. That's a way. I kind of like to have people, if they can, lock into the shoulder blades first. But obviously, if your client just wants to move and kind of flow through that and they have the strength and mobility, go for it. Oh, why not? Then we go for shaving. Now, for shaving in its full form, we're now kind of crisscross applesaucing the legs. Okay. We're still lifting up that spine. And now we're taking more of an outside grip with the handles and letting them ride to the outside. And we're bringing the hands in the full form behind the head to the nape of the neck. Now, for clients who are really tight in their shoulders, as many are, and they're kind of starting, say, their, intermediate to advanced journey, you may want to do something called salute instead. And all that is taking the hands just to the front of the forehead. I tell people to make a diamond shape with their index fingers and their thumbs, just putting them together. And then they're just pressing forward and bending back in if they're doing the salute. Now, if they're coming into the full shave, you want really wide elbows. You want those shoulder blades pulling together in the back as much as you can with a slight forward lean of the entire torso from the hips and pelvis. And then really from the shoulders, you're pressing up and bending down. So it's not really a tricep extension, okay, as many people do it. Okay, the front salute is a little more of a kind of anterior press with a little more tricep, but once you get into the back of the head, then you're really leaning forward and working through the shoulders. Now, we go right from shaving to hug. So you finish that shave, you press up, you open the arms out to the side, and you change the cross of your legs. Now, why do we do that? Okay, number one, the action of changing the cross of the legs is an abdominal workout. Number two, which is kind of the most important thing, is that people always tend to sit on one hip or to one side or in one way, and this forces people to sit in a slightly different way. Okay. So now the arms are out to the side, and this is essentially a fly. All right. The elbows are up, pinkies are turned up a little bit. Okay. Thumbs are turned in a little bit, and you're hugging in and opening. We do 2 breath patterns with that, starting with an exhale, close, inhale, open, and then moving to an inhale, close, exhale, open. And that's the rowing from the front. Now, the rowing from the front stays the same throughout the series, okay? The order changes. So while I'll start with rowing from the front for beginner clients and just do that, then you start to add in the rowing facing back, right? The sternum and then the 90-degree bicep curl, okay? So when we add these, now you're facing the back of the reformer, right? Your feet are in the headrest is down. I encourage my clients to push their legs out into the headrest to engage their abductors, the outer butt, the hip stabilizers, and be able to lift their spines. And then with the outside grip on the handles, you lift the spine and pull the hands into the breastbone with high, wide elbows. Step 1, exhale, hands stay at the chest. Curl back from the hips as much as you can, maintaining stability. Step 2, you swing from the sternum down with the hands and out to the side. Palms are facing back. You press the hands back a little bit to engage the back of the shoulders as you dive forward with your head. Arms now reach back. They can squeeze together in the back. You can clasp the hands in the back or just lift up where you can, but stay in the joint. Arms open high and wide. You close to the front and come back up into that tall sit with the hands at the chest. Now, here's the deal. In rowing, especially rowing facing back, people will come in and out of tension. That's part of the exercise. It is okay. You don't want to shorten their straps or give them, shorter and shorter loops until they have tension the whole way. That's not the exercise. The exercise is about having moments when you're out of tension and then pulling back into tension, which is pretty much how rowing goes, frankly. So keep the straps the same length, okay? Use the longer straps if you're doing double loop, because that would put you into a similar position to hands in handles. Then we go for the 90 degrees. So you start out in that tall sit in a very high bicep curl, as if you were holding a box. And then you keep your hands with you and you take your whole shape back, kind of leaning back with a little pelvic tilt, similar to the second short box. Then you reach the arms up a little bit and forward, following with your head. You go all the way forward out of tension. Then the hands come down alongside the frame of the machine and they row straight down and back, squeezing the shoulder blades, lifting the arms up, bringing the hands together if you want to or can, staying in the joint. Opening wide, finishes like the first one, stretching over the legs and coming back up into that bicep curl. Once again, as long as my clients are breathing with this one, I'm kind of happy. Ideally, I think the way I learned it was bicep curl, inhale back, reach the arms up, exhale forward, dropping the head over. Inhale as the arms roll back, lifting up through the arms, stretching the shoulders out and around. Exhale, and then inhale to stack the spine up and hinge back. Similar actually to the breathing pattern for neck pull on the mat. So what is this similar to in the studio? We have, arm spring exercises where we're doing a lot of these movements. Okay. We have work on the baby armchair if you're in a full studio where you're again doing some of these movements. But really the kind of rowing series takes us into slightly, new territory, right? In terms of our relationship to the reformer and the springs, and there is quite a bit of choreography. Other than the rowing series facing back, I mean, the rowing series facing front, can be done in a number of different places in a number of different ways. If you have somebody who can't sit up on the carriage and you only have reformer, you can actually teach a lot of the front rowing with people sitting on the box. Put it on long, have them straddle, that's fine. Um, Really with the rowing facing back, you can't do the whole series with somebody sitting, but you can do pieces of it. You can do the bicep curls, you could do the lean, you can do the rowing back into the sternum, opening the arms with a little press back. Like you can take pieces of that and teach them. But then if you're putting it all together at the beginning, here's how I recommend you introduce the rowing. Okay. You can teach it with no weight at all on the mat or the reformer. Like just don't use the straps, just take them through the choreography, just arms. You can also bring in a light hand weight. Light hand weights, have them do it with just the 1 or 2 pound hand weights or ankle weights on the wrist. And then start to add the springs. But make sure that when you're looking at your clients and they're moving and they're working, that they have an understanding of how these exercises relate to the other things that they're doing in the studio, to their spine, to their body. You've heard me already talk about the short box in relationship to the curling back, of the open leg rocker, of the spine stretch, of the push throughs. Like, once again, it becomes very difficult in a way to separate all of these things out because the system is so rich. And if you're teaching the full system, your clients will have a much better shot at getting any of these exercises right. But, once again, even if you're just teaching mat and reformer, if you at least understand how the reformer exercises go with the mat exercises, and how to speak to your clients about the more advanced exercises in terms of the more basic exercises, you're going to have a much easier time teaching these exercises. And I also encourage you guys to understand them in your own body, to listen to my cues, to kind of work through that, to see what works for you, to go into the other exercises and see how they relate. Okay. And I'm going to actually stop with that today because that's a lot. And in the next episode, which will be out before the weekend, we will be starting with arabesque because we're adding a little more to the long stretch series. We've got arabesques, we've got the long back stretch, we're adding in the tendon stretch, semicircle. There's a lot that we're adding right now. So I will be back in here with you soon. Now, if you are enjoying this private Pilates Goddess podcast and you're really using the information and it's helping you, please share. Just share the link. You can share it on social media with your email list, with the people in your studio, because I would love to have more of us in this community. And, for $9 a month, it's a deal. All right, my friends, I will see you next time. Bye.
If you like the show, please take a moment to rate, review, and subscribe. It really does help the show to grow. Thank you for listening.